For decades, people have whispered about something living in these waters. Glowing eyes, foul smell, footprints too big to be human. But what if the Honey Island swamp monster isn't just a legend? And maybe by the end of this video, you might just believe it too. Hi, my name is Brittany, and make sure you're subscribed for more spooky legends, and let's dive into our video. Just north of Lake Pontchartrain, probably pronounced that wrong, I apologize, and on the bed of Old Pearl River in Louisiana, you'll find the Honey Island Swamp. The island gets its name from the abundance of honeybees that once lived on the island, which is also Louisiana's state insect. And the island is considered one of the most pristine marshlands in the US. A great deal of the almost 70,000 acre swamp is government protected and is part of the Pearl River Wildlife Management Area, which is perfect for a creature that might not want to be found. Many creatures make the swamp their home, such as alligators, snakes, turtles, raccoons, wild boars, and so much more. And just maybe something just a little bit more unique. The Honey Island swamp monster has donned numerous names, such as Louisiana's Bigfoot, the Bayou Beast, and even the Wookiee, which is also what Chewbacca is, but they look very different. Both Native American and Cajun folklore link the swamp monster to a creature called, I'm actually pretty sure it's called Letiche, but that could still be wrong. Which is a human-like creature that was raised by alligators after wandering into the swamp when it was an abandoned child. The Honey Island swamp monster stands over 7.5 feet tall and weighs between 400 to over 500 pounds. Not exactly something you want to get in a fight with. It's said to be covered in a thick coat of matted gray or brown hair and swamp weed. It has these yellow reptilian eyes, and the smell is quite terrible, even being referred to as the stench of death. So you will smell it before you see it type thing. The creature has been blamed for the death of livestock along with mysterious disappearances of children. Some say that the Honey Island swamp monster is just a giant alligator that roams the banks of Pearl River. However, probably the strangest and most interesting legend that surrounds the Honey Island swamp monster involves it being the child of an alligator and a chimpanzee. The legend states that there was a train wreck that had occurred near Pearl River in the beginning of the 20th century. The train was filled with exotic animals from a traveling circus, and when the train derailed, the animals fled into the swamp. Most of the creatures would end up dying, but a group of chimpanzees had actually managed to survive, and they ended up interbreeding with alligators, which resulted in a colony of reptilian-like mammals. Pretty sure that's impossible, but it makes for a really interesting story. All of the evidence that existed around this creature was just folklore. Until one day in 1963, two hunters would see something they couldn't believe. Harlan Ford was a retired air traffic controller, and he would use a twin-engine plane to scout hunting grounds and potential hunting camp locations. He found the perfect spot, but it was deep in the Honey Island swamp, and to make it there, he'd have to go halfway by boat and the other half by foot. One day, Ford and his friend were bringing supplies to their camp when they had seen a very strange-looking animal on all fours feeding on another animal. So they were, obviously a little scared, and they thought that if they had frightened the animal, that the animal would actually turn around and attack them. So they drew their guns to be safe. And when they did, the creature had stood up quickly on 2 feet, turned around, looked them in the eyes, and then ran away. Ford would document what he had seen that day in a letter saying that the creature was over 7 feet tall, having dingy grayish hair, yellow eyes, and smelling terrible. He said, quote, "It was nothing like I'd ever seen before. Ugly and sinister and looking like something out of a horror movie." The creature was so strange that obviously Ford wanted to see it again. Kind of like, you need to see it again to believe that you actually saw it. So he would go on and gather evidence for about 10 years. He'd even go back to where he had originally seen the creature. And on a trail by a small watering hole, Ford would see what looked like the aftermath of an attack. There were spots of splattered blood on the ground. And when he crawled through the shrubs to the other side of the watering hole, he would find a wild boar who had just been killed, and its throat was ripped out completely. Next to the boar were large footprints in the mud. Ford got out of there, but decided to come back because he wanted to cast the footprints. So he used liquid plaster to cast them. And these footprints were massive and 3-toed webbed. Ford would then take the casting to the local game warden and LSU's College of Agriculture to be analyzed. But they had no idea what kind of animal could leave these tracks. Ford was determined to figure out just what this creature was. So every time he went back to camp, he would bring his camera. And it was believed that he never caught the creature on camera. But that wasn't true. Dana Holyfield is the granddaughter of Harlan Ford. And she has continued his research. She's done a documentary and even had written a book called the Honey Island Swamp Monster Documentation. And when her grandfather had passed away, she was given a roll of 8mm film labeled Honey Island Swamp Monster. The film was stored in a box that Ford had kept in his home, and he never showed this to anybody. On the film, it shows what Ford had been filming from a tree bling he had set up. It shows a large bipedal creature faintly roaming the wood from about 100 yards away. Now, cryptozoologists have analyzed this footage, and although the footage isn't the best quality, they didn't rule out that there is a possibility for a creature like this to exist. Holyfield believes that if there was a Honey Island swamp monster, that this would be the ideal place for it to live. Wildlife and fisheries protect large portions of the swamp, and there are parts of this swamp that people don't go, which is the perfect place for a creature like this to go undetected, or at least mostly undetected. Her grandfather, like I said, had never shown anybody this footage before. And she said that he was worried that someone would mistake the creature for a hunter and get hurt or killed. She also believes that he might have just learned more about this creature than we'll ever know. Another man named Ted Williams had also claimed to see the creature and even had several encounters. He thought that there was more than one Honey Island swamp monster. And Williams said that he could have killed them but decided not to. So generous. But they didn't seem like they wanted to hurt him, so he didn't. Which, I mean, I feel like you shouldn't unless they're attacking you. However, one day he would take his bow out on the swamp to set trout lines, and he was never seen again. It is possible that a Bigfoot-type creature does exist in the swamp, and due to the conditions, it may have evolved webbed feet to better suit the swamp environment. Many parts of the swamp are secluded and isolated, leaving the possibility for an unknown creature to remain completely or almost undetected. And whatever the creature is, it's quite large, it smells horrible, and it seems to have immense strength. Maybe one day we'll get a real answer to what is lurking in the depths of the Honey Island swamp. But until then, let me know what you believe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you're subscribed for more legends and paranormal investigations. And until my next video, I love you guys. Bye.